What's up, everybody, and welcome to PPR podcast number 67. This will be the Week 11 recap show and the playoff preview show. As always, I'm Chase Izidoro, and today we're joined for the first time by our East County reporter, Allison Edmonds. Allison, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Chase. Glad to be here.
So normally we start off with Game of the Week, but I think we just have to give a quick shout out to all the league winners for their great season. Avocado League going to Carlsbad. They take it again on a great avocado streak. The Central League, Crawford takes that. Their first league title since 2015 and their first City League title since 2004. The City League was taken by University City. Coastal League was taken by Bishops with a great 40-7 win in their winner-take-all game over Santa Fe Christian. The Desert League was taken by Palo Verde. Eastern League, Christian takes that. Granite Hills in a quadruple overtime takes the Grossmont Hills League in a huge upset. We'll talk more on that in a little bit. The Grossmont Valley League was taken by El Cap. Central takes the Imperial Valley. The Metro Mesa is taken by Mater Dei Catholic. And in their last 6 games have outscored opponents 281-0. And the Metro Pacific was taken by Chula Vista. We'll talk more on them in a little bit. The Metro South Bay taken by Montgomery. Escondido Charter in their great season takes the Pacific League. Poway stays undefeated for the whole year and takes the Palomar League. Army-Navy in their great 9-1 season takes the Sunset League. San Pasqual takes the Valley. And Lincoln takes the Western League. Really, the top 2 teams being Carlsbad and Lincoln running through the Avocado, which is one of the toughest leagues, running through the Western League, which is one of the toughest leagues. And they both stay now undefeated in San Diego. We'll get more into Lincoln in a bit, but we also have to now give the shout out to the fan vote.
Yes.
Josiah Cox from Lincoln, Major Givens from Steel Canyon, Jake Jackson from Madison, Chase Lowry from Point Loma, Dominic Nankill from Mater Dei, Makai Thompson from Mira Mesa, Angelino Trapasso from RBV, Christopher Williams from Francis Parker, and Demarion Wright from Morse. When you're looking at the fan vote, first off, I think we got it right as a group when we decided to put these people on here, but it's so hard for me to because usually I think there's maybe 1, 2 that stand out.
Right.
I'm looking at this list. There's about 4 or 5 that really stand out to me. Who would be kind of your picks?
Yeah, when I look at it too, when we've kind of gone over it and looked at it more and more, I'm like, you know what? Honestly, any single one of these people would be deserving. If they were on our podium, I would be happy. I'd be like, you know what? We did good. We made sure to go through, and any person, we're like, okay, they would look good on our podium. Probably Chase Lowry would be on my top few picks, right? I've watched him a couple times for Point Loma. Very strong on all sides of the ball. He's just a beast out there. That guy is just so impressive to watch. So he's probably top of my list. He was also one of my student athletes, so he's just a good all-around kid. I know that doesn't really count for the fan vote, but I'm just throwing that out there.
I was about to say about him, I was leaning towards Chase Lowry, but it's hard when I'm looking at all these other names. But when I went to the student athlete with you to watch it, when he said he spoke Portuguese, I'm like, oh, he's going on.
Right? I know. Right?
So how can I not vote for the guy when he speaks Portuguese?
Speaks Portuguese, teaches Portuguese to children.
The minute he said that, I thought I loved him before, man. Now he's on the list.
Exactly.
No, but I think also when you talk about it, I think that's where our standpoint is do we feel fine with anybody winning this
100%.
When we put these kids on the fan vote? And I think that's across the board is true. I look at Chase Lowry as well. Probably at the beginning of the year, I would say Major Givens.
Yeah,
I think probably most of the people would say Major Givens.
Yeah.
But I think so many other players have played up to his level, and he's still played at that level.
Yeah.
Josiah Cox being one of them from Lincoln.
Yeah. Incredible.
Incredible when you watch the tape. Hard hitter, great in the secondary, had some great moments, especially in the Cathedral game with his game-winning pick 6. Makai Thompson from Mira Mesa has been phenomenal. And same with Christopher Williams. I know he's from Francis Parker. It'd be hard for him to win the fan vote because he needs everybody to vote about 5 times.
Right.
But he's a phenomenal athlete, and he does everything for them.
Literally everything.
I don't know who to pick. I honestly don't.
I know. It's hard.
If I have to lean one way, I'm probably leaning towards Chase Lowry.
Yeah.
I think what he's done for that Pointers team has been phenomenal for them all year, especially on both sides of the ball. I might even lean towards Chris Williams, man.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard for him because he's at Parker, but I think you put him at any single team, he'd still be doing the numbers he's doing.
No, I agree.
Honestly.
I agree. They're all strong, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I believe the fan vote closes on Thursday, I believe. So go out there.
Wednesday or Thursday,
Go door to door if you have to. Go get some votes.
Need them.
So we start now with game of the week, and really was the game of the season. Was Lincoln versus Madison. And, I didn't really check in on the CIF point system about where guys were going to be when it came to getting into the playoffs. I was going to just let that ride until the end. I didn't realize that if Lincoln was going to lose this game, they would not be in the Open, which seems like a crime to me.
To me too. I'd heard that, and I was like, you've got to be kidding.
You think the stakes are big enough for the Western League and seeding, but now it's Lincoln's on the chance of not making it. And Madison played a great game. We're hanging right in there, but I think Roderick Robinson was just too much for them. And I want your take. We haven't gotten you on the podcast yet this whole year. What's been your take on both these two teams and how they've played all season?
I think they've just both played phenomenally. I mean, I think I'm going to start with Madison because I think I know that I wasn't necessarily expecting Madison to be as strong as they were, right? They finished the season 9-1. And I just think a lot of those guys really came through. Jake Jackson, Barrett Rankin, these players that you've kind of seen evolve over their past few years really came through in their senior season. And this is their Jonah Rodriguez. I mean, you have so many guys that are now seniors. They're at their strongest. They've been working their way up. And this Madison team, it's like, wow, this is the Madison team. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a cycle, I feel like, at Madison. It's like every, 5 or 6, maybe even more. It might be getting the numbers a little wrong, but they have that team, the team that, can go 9-1, the team that can go win it all, go make a state run. It happens, a couple times every decade where they have that. And this is that team. And they've just played overall incredibly impressive. And that's the Madison side of things. And Lincoln, I mean, I expected Lincoln to be this good, you know what I mean? But they really are this good. I feel like the past couple years it's been like, okay, Lincoln's going to be good, but little things happen here and there. They can't quite finish it. They can't quite get it done. And this team is finishing every single game. They just come out and they play their hardest. Everyone on that team is phenomenal. I mean, and then to have Rod to top it off. I mean, a guy that's just unbelievable. I mean, the touchdowns he makes, the people he runs through, it's just, I cannot get over it watching him play. Like his tape, it's just like every time my jaw just like drops. Like, did he really just do that? You know what I mean?
I think he's easily going down as one of the most impressive players I've ever seen take the football field. It's just, because he'll go a couple yards at a time. It's like there's sometimes where he almost fools you. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, 4-yard run, 5-yard run, which anybody would beg for to get 4 or 5-yard runs. It's like, okay, maybe they're bottling him up a little bit. Yeah. I know he's a bruiser back a little bit too, but it's like maybe he does. And then he gets that one opening where he's just, how he takes off and gets into past the second and third levels, it's phenomenal.
It's insane.
You really think, like, who on earth can stop this man at a high school level? It's so difficult to see. But I think I agree. They're way more than just him. Yeah. The team is incredible, especially the senior class. Yep. I love the pass rush with Fuel and PV on both sides. They are phenomenal. 100%. Plus their secondary, Corey Thompson-Miller and Josiah Cox. Yeah. I mean, it was a great matchup between these two, but I was really expecting Lincoln to come out on top in this one, and I'd probably say they're my pick going forward. I'd be shocked to see them lose, but it's possible. They are in close games a lot with those teams, so it's not impossible that they can't be beaten.
No, 100%. But it'll be tough.
Yeah. But now we move on. No, that was the game of the week, but really the game of the week was the one you shot, which was Granite Hills, the upset to win their league title, 46-44 over the mighty Scotties. I mean. How do you take away from that one? First of all, 4 overtimes, just to witness that alone is incredible. What's on the line in that game as well? What was your takeaway?
Going into that game, I didn't know. I mean, I've only seen Helix a couple times this year. They haven't been home a lot. They've only had like 3 or 4 home games. They've done a lot of, Orange County games, that kind of stuff. I've watched Granite Hills like probably 4 times this year. I know Granite Hills is a strong team. Speaking of Madison, Granite Hills played a tough game against Madison. They were winning by a couple scores going into like the 4th quarter of that game, so they held them really well. And that was really the true test for me way back then. Then bringing them into here, I was like, wow, okay, they've continued to perform. They absolutely are dominating competition in the East County. Helix will be another real test for them in the East because Helix has also been a pretty big powerhouse this year. Just putting up these wins against Servite and schools that you're like, okay, well, if you win against these teams, you're it. It was just an unreal game. Start to finish, just back and forth, like strong defense, strong offense on both sides of the ball. I mean, sometimes you see those games, you're like quadruple overtime, you're like, okay, well, was that a bad football game, that like got out of hand, scoring, like both teams weren't playing well? It was exactly the opposite. It was a phenomenal football game. I mean, it was people, little mistakes here and there, some fumbles, some interceptions, stuff like that led to but I mean, it was matching score for score. one team would score be 7-0, and then another team would score be 7-7, and then it would be 10-7, then it'd be 10-10, and all the way until quadruple overtime, they were matching score for score. I mean, even down to, the field goals. Both teams would make phenomenal field goals. I mean, one of the Helix's kicker made like a 36-yard field goal to tie them to go into halftime. I mean, it was unreal. And they just looked so good, and they just went all the way to the end. I mean, it was one of those games where it really could have gone to either team. I mean, 46-44, it was a 2-point conversion, pass that was broken up, but I mean, it was the craziest football game. This is my 6th season on the show, the craziest football game I've ever watched. It was just so much fun and so competitive, and I'm excited to see how they both do moving forward. I think Granite in D2 has the potential to win D2.
Oh, I think they have to be considered the top dogs now.
I mean,
especially because, they could have handed Madison their first loss.
Exactly.
It was a close one against Poway at the first half, and then Poway pulled away late, but that was the first game of the year. And this Granite Hills team continues time and time again to show that they are legit, that this whole unit is legit. And there's so many, it's like a new name every week that comes out of that
100%.
team. Like Xander this week, I mean, an incredible performance from him.
Insane
just willing them to win. I mean, this Granite Hills team, I think, now we're starting to look at, I think they're going to be the top dogs for D2. And if they
100%.
win this, I think they can make a run statewide
I think
as
so
well.
too.
I mean, they're phenomenal.
They're very strong. And Xander, I mean, he was not missing anything. I mean, I was sitting up in the press box with, they have, their camera crew up on the top, and they were all like, oh my gosh, you can't miss, just keep throwing him the ball. I mean, insane. It was incredible to watch. So congrats to them on a huge win.
Oh, and that seems like almost like slaying of the dragon, because Helix is the big monster out east. For everybody.
Yeah.
So for them, that's just such a massive moment. And I wouldn't say an eye opener for Helix. I'm sure they looked at them like, these guys are good.
No,
but now they gotta get it together going into these playoffs.
Yep.
That's for sure.
100%.
A couple quick recaps.
Yes.
Chula Vista 34-0 over Castle Park, getting their first league title win since 2003 when our own Bo Ferteg was on the team. First off, I didn't realize Bo was that old.
I didn't realize
2003.
that.
I was like, where was I in 2003?
I was 8 years old.
We were rooting on Cleo Green still, all right, guys?
Exactly. If even that.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I think he was not even playing yet. But just an incredible moment for a school like that. When it's so long and those kids, when you go to school every single year and they go to play, you keep not winning. And they've been second place in their league a lot. I've looked it up a couple times over this decade.
Yeah.
So for them to finally get it, just what kind of that means for them?
It's huge. I mean, I feel like it's being somebody who's a fan of teams, just in general, who always come in second place. I mean, it's got to be exhausting year after year to be that close. You know what I mean? And for them to finally do it, I mean, it's so cool. It's such a great program there. When you go down to Chula Vista, it's just such a good community at Chula Vista High School, and you can just tell that they just have wanted it for so long. They've kind of just been underdog. You know what I mean? No one looks at them and says, oh, Chula Vista's gonna go win this or whatever. And it's so cool. It's so cool for that program. I'm so happy for Bannister and the team and that they were able to do it. I mean, the gist of it is that it's just so cool. I don't even really have words for it. It's got to be really awesome for them.
It's always cool to see a team, finally get over that hump of all right, we finally got one. We get to put a banner up for ourselves.
Yes.
Those kids will always remember that whenever they see them in the gym.
Ever since freshman year, I looked at all the banners. I see all the schools, and we hear all from the coaches that it's been years since we got a banner. And ever since I saw that, ever since they told us, I always wanted my whole team that one day, whether it's freshman year, sophomore year, any year, I promised and I knew that we were going to get that one day. Yeah. And that year's today! That's this year!
And that Bo got to be there for it.
Yeah.
Is the coolest part.
Phenomenal what he put on his
Letterman jacket.
It was since right here that we last won it. That was awesome.
That was best. So cool.
Another great team really performance where I thought this was going to be a lot closer of a game was Bishop's 40 over Santa Fe Christian 7.
Wow.
Santa Fe Christian is a phenomenal team, and the way they run the ball can make it so that they play very close games. But that Bishop's team, time and time again, they keep performing to a level where it's like, I got to reassess how I look at them.
Yeah.
They're really, really good. Will Fierro, the quarterback, has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't get enough love.
No.
And, we keep seeing him time and time again, just how many big plays, 31 total touchdowns, only 3 interceptions on the season.
That's impressive.
A kid I got to watch when they played Francis Parker, I went to go shoot that Saturday game,
Yeah.
was Jaden Moore, and he's been a phenomenal two-way player for them. He's nasty on the defensive side of the ball, but he's also a great wide receiver. So that's just a team to keep your eye on is Bishop's going forward.
Yeah.
I think they got potential to go and win. I think they're a phenomenal team. Obviously, anything can happen, and they've had some close losses. They played really well against University City, where it was just a shootout, but I'd be looking out for that Bishops team this year. I think they're really good. But now we move on to the preview of the playoffs.
Ooh.
Finally, the right time of year. It's starting. It's a little bit colder at nights now. It's November's in the air, cold. And it's playoff football.
Yes.
D5. Crawford gets the 1 seed. Escondido Charter gets the 2. Classical Academy with the 3, and Army Navy with the 4. For me, I think this league's a little top heavy, but with those 4.
Yeah.
I think those 4 have been phenomenal. I'd
All
expect them to be in the semifinals.
Yeah.
And then from there, I have no idea. Because they're so. When I watch all of them, especially a team like Escondido Charter has been great. Army Navy has been sneaking under the radar as like one of the better teams this whole year. And Crawford, Lincoln's probably the best team to watch, like to go like, wow, these guys got D1 guys everywhere. Crawford puts on the best performance from like I want to go see a high school football game tonight. They're just phenomenal to watch. On the sideline antics, how much fun they have. Matt Marquez, they're phenomenal. I go out and watch Crawford. They're a great team to watch. And they got a great team this year with Sharif and all of them. I would expect Crawford to come out on top, but one of the bigger games, I guess, from this D5 would be Mar Vista Hoover. You did a student athlete on Wojcik, the quarterback, and you know, some ups and downs from this year, but when we see him go off, he has like 5 touchdown games.
Oh, yeah. When he has a good game, he has a good game. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I agree on that one. And also, big shout out to the Chieftains from Claremont. You know, they always have some up and down years. I love the guys at that program. They're really good coaches, too. So it's always good to see them in the playoffs. Now we move on to D4. Fallbrook with the 1 seed, La Jolla Country Day with the 2 seed, Coronado with the 3, and Montgomery with the 4. Our Jersey Mike City game of the week will be at Mission Bay, as Mission Bay, the 5 seed, takes on Westview, the 12 seed. I believe didn't you cover Mission Bay at all this year, or was that last year?
No. Well, Mission Bay, I did a student athlete.
That's right.
But it's crazy, like all these different ones, they're all like student athletes, like Crawford, Mar Vista. But Mission Bay, yes, on Hatan Nguyen.
Yeah.
I went out there, so they were, I mean, when I went out there, they were like 4-0, 5-0 at that point in the season, and I know they kind of fell off the wagon a little bit in mid-season.
They played a tough City League conference where they had to play Morse, Point Loma, you know.
But here they are in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
So
they're a great team, and that'll be a great game for the City game of the week.
For sure.
We move on to D3. D3 last year, I think, was my favorite playoff-wise with all the teams. Probably up there again. I like D5's top heaviness, but I think D3 might be one of the better playoffs. UC with the 1 seed, Point Loma with the 2 seed, Del Norte with the 3 seed, and Bishops with the 4 seed. All phenomenal teams.
Yeah.
You know, Del Norte probably a little bit younger, so they might be at a disadvantage, but I think they're still capable of going out and winning.
Yeah, they're very strong.
UC, I think, has pushed themselves out to be one of the best teams in this county.
For sure.
But then we have the El Cajon Ford East County game of the week will be number 7 El Cap versus number 10 Morse. You've got to see El Cap a lot. I've been following this Morse team a lot this year because I just love what they have with Demarion Wright and Johnny Mosty and Aliante Logan. You know, what kind of do you expect from El Cap, especially you know, they finally won their league, but we all know what to expect from El Cap. Great defensively and stuff like that.
Oh, 100%. And you know what I find interesting is I've seen El Cap a couple times this year. You know, they were very strong last season with Savion Yoakley and all those guys, but this year too, I mean, at the beginning I was like, oh, you know, they were like 1-2. I forget the record, but it was like, you know, they were under the radar a little, and now I look at the record and they finished the season like phenomenally. They had a great season. And I think they're really strong on both sides of the ball. I haven't seen a lot of Morse, so I'll be interested to see how they match up against them.
Morse puts up a lot of points very quickly. They
well,
also give up a lot. They also give up a lot of points. So it's who's going to break? It's El Cap's defense versus Morse's offense.
And El Cap always
seems great matchup.
Absolutely. And El Cap always seems to turn it on in the playoffs for sure. So I'm excited. I think it'll be fun. And I love going out El Cap. It's nothing like Friday Night Lights out in Lakeside.
I know. There's so I guess few communities that do it like that. I guess Ramona, Lakeside, where they all go out to the game, and it's just such a great atmosphere.
It's so fun.
I love that stuff. So you know, it'll be an interesting matchup, and I'm sure you'll love to watch that.
I'm excited.
You know, probably won't be a quadruple overtime.
Let's hope. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
It came very close to not getting on air, but okay. Now we move to D2. The 1 seed goes to Granite Hills. The 2 seed goes to Central. 3 seed goes to Ramona, and number 4 goes to Christian. The one game I'm looking at from this one, I guess there's a couple games actually, would be La Jolla Santa Fe Christian. Santa Fe Christian's been on a great stretch run. Obviously, you know, bad loss to Bishops to lose it. But La Jolla is also kind of in the same spot. Both very good offenses. I don't know where they go. I kind of leaning towards La Jolla. Jackson Deal's a great quarterback.
Yeah.
Scully is a great running back.
Yes.
You know, we want to talk about student athlete spotlights.
More?
That was the one of the year by far.
Yeah, phenomenal story.
Also, the other ones is Valley Center and San Marcos. Gilster, you know, coming down to the end here. But the San Marcos team at the beginning was so hot.
Yeah.
Super young. Freshmen, you know, sophomores, very young. But they ran through a very tough avocado league, which I don't think anybody expected them to like run through it. But now they don't really have that momentum. So what are we going to get from them? Because they can explode at any time, and they can definitely take down Valley Center.
Yeah.
Valley Center is those playing for their coach, which I think has that little extra like momentum.
Yeah,
where,
like give it to him, give
this is last
Gilster in his
year,
final
man.
season.
Like, you know,
yeah,
so
100%.
I think those two ones really stand out to me. And I think we go now to D1, which is really, I haven't seen a D1 like this where it's just so wide open.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So many good teams.
Could be anyone's, really.
Mission Hills takes the 1 seed. Cathedral with the 2 seed. Mater Dei 3 seed. Helix with the 4 seed.
It's a powerhouse for it
Our
there.
North County game of the week will be LCC versus Steel Canyon. Our game of the week will be Torrey Pines versus RB. And our National City Mile Car South Bay game of the week will be Eastlake versus St. Augustine.
Wow.
So we got 3 games of the week all in D1.
Packed.
When I look at Torrey Pines and RB, it's so tough because Torrey Pines, you know, probably not one of their better teams, but it's also they're kind of in a rebuild here with a new coach.
Right,
You know,
of
they
course.
lost a lot of big key seniors from
Yes.
last season. Same time, they beat RB 35-0, I believe, week 4, week 3.
Oh, wow. So it's kind of a...
But RB's been
rematch.
on a great run since then.
They have.
You know, they started off, I think, 0-4, and they were playing Poway in the last week to win the Palomar League.
Right, exactly.
I don't know which way that one will go. I really don't. I'm kind of in the dark.
Yeah, that
LCC Steel Canyon. Major Given's kind of on his last run here as a senior.
Yeah.
So how is he going to want to go out against a very good LCC team? We've seen them win great games at times. There's times where we thought they would be challenging Carlsbad for the avocado.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic.
Eastlake St. Augustine, probably not one of the greatest Eastlake teams we've seen.
Right.
They've caught some fire when they started playing their league. Obviously, they ran into Mater Dei. But
not
then
one of the greatest.
St. Augustine teams, you know, they're all freshmen.
Right.
So
They're
that
rebuilding
one,
as
there's
well.
so
New
much
coach, new
toss-ups
kids.
of like,
Yep.
I don't know where to go in this D1 playoffs.
No.
And now we really need to talk about the big thing, which is the Open.
Yeah.
Nobody's playing this week, but Carlsbad with the 1 seed, Lincoln 2, Madison 3, so we'll get a rematch of that in
Yep.
2 weeks. Poway with the 4 seed. And it really comes down to Poway versus Mission Hills. And we said on PPR After Dark who kind of was deserving. I said I thought Poway just because they were undefeated.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mission Hills, you know, nothing against them, but I think Poway, and the thing is that Granite Hills win is what launched Poway in, because Poway, that was their big win, was Granite Hills, and Granite
Right.
Hills beating Helix.
Exactly.
Where do you kind of stand on that, watching this Poway team, watching
Yeah.
Mission Hills?
I think that it was the right choice. I mean, I would have given Poway the 4 seed. I mean, the undefeated factor is huge in seeding like this. And I think the fact that they did beat such a good Granite Hills team, which we didn't really know, that was what, week 1?
Yeah, week 1.
Week 1 of the season. So we didn't really know what this Granite Hills team was going to look like at that point. We're like, okay, Poway played Granite Hills. Okay, you know, we didn't really have a sense of like who Poway was, who Granite Hills was yet.
Honestly.
But looking back, I mean, I think that this Poway team is just really strong. It's the best Poway team we've seen in a long time. Not that Mission Hills isn't a strong team, but I just think that Poway just, that undefeated, that beating Granite beating Helix, all the little factors that have been figured out, I just think Poway has that little bit of an edge over Mission Hills, and I think Mission Hills will still make their way through D1.
Yeah,
I think
and
that will be maybe
be
even better for them. Yeah.
It'll be a tough D1 as well.
Yeah.
I think it is better for them.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, you know, it would have been a rematch against Carlsbad. So
Right.
it's like, you know, we haven't seen Poway play Carlsbad.
Right.
Probably taking Carlsbad by a good margin, but
Right.
you don't know.
You never know.
Poway
You
has
never
a
know.
great O-line, great D-line, and Connor Rath. That can win
Yeah.
them games, you know. For me, I would probably lean towards Poway, and it's nothing against Mission Hills. You know, we can have the argument of, well, Poway played in the Palomar League. Mission Hills had to play in the avocado, you know.
yeah.
So if they were to swap, what would the records be? They'd probably be the same.
Yeah.
They would probably be, Poway would have Mission Hills record, and Mission Hills might be undefeated.
Right.
It's so tough to decipher on that. But for me, I think this Poway team, it's not just about the undefeated's part. It's the part that they're beating everybody by 45 points.
Right. They have significant margins of victory.
Yeah.
It's not like a little win.
Yeah. And Mission Hills, I think, they lost by 6 points to Carlsbad, so they were right in it.
Yeah.
It's also before Zach Marshall got there, so it's a little bit different of a Carlsbad team. That for me, I think we just need to see this Poway team. And I think they've earned the right to all right, you got to go play Carlsbad now, but we want to see what you guys can do. And I think they've earned the right being undefeated in that sense. And no disrespect to Mission Hills. I think they go into D1, as
and
the one seed, but
D1.
really I think they have everything possible to get it done, especially the way they grind down games with Santiago Salas at running back.
Yeah.
I think it's wide open for them, and but I think they got it right on this one. But it's interesting to see that they're going with a rematch between Lincoln and Madison.
That was what I was like, there's no way they're going to do that.
Yeah.
And then they did it.
I mean, I guess they have to because it was a tie for fourth.
Seeding,
They have to, but it's just so weird. Like, they just played each other. They know what they're going to run. They kind of know what to expect. How do those coaches go into that game? Like, all right, we have to mix it up something.
It's going to be really interesting because when you play each other so close together like that, and it's like all this hype, like, I don't know if like all season they're like, oh, this game, but like, of course the energy was different. The game felt a little different than most weeks, right? It's that kind of rivalry game, but to have to do it twice, it'll be really interesting to see how they come out. Like, I can't even think of what they would do different, how you prepare in just like short amount of time.
It's easier for Madison to just brush it off.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here we go, let's do it again.
If they had to go play Carlsbad, they might have the chip on their shoulder.
Right.
Like, all right, yeah, we want to be Carlsbad, but we also want to play Lincoln again to prove ourselves. Now it's like, all right, that week didn't really, we didn't win league, sure, that's a big thing. But we get to play them again and we can knock them out of the playoffs.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's a massive momentum, I guess, for Madison. Yeah, but I still, and until I see someone stop Roderick Robinson, that's my pick.
I would still have to go with Lincoln, but I also think that Madison really has a shot seeing everyone so recently and really getting to get that game plan down and just kind of, like you said, kind of being like, oh, okay, well, we lost this one, but this is the one that matters.
I saw them play each other a lot in the 7-on-7 leagues in the summer, and they were always close. They were always going down to the wire, came down to a final play. And I think it really stands to test. Obviously, there's differences because pass rush and stuff like that, which I think Lincoln does have an advantage, but Madison's got a great defense as well. But I think the biggest difference when you look at that and compare to football is that you don't run the ball. And so that's where it comes in with Roderick Robinson. And I think he is the big impact player that I think now that it's the second time around, I don't know I think he might be in their head a little bit. Like, okay, we have to stop him, but then it opens up KJ Chatham to have a great game as well. So be interesting to see. I can't wait. Obviously, it's a week down the line. We got a great slate of playoff games this week. I cannot wait to watch them on Friday night. But that'll do it for us here today. Stay tuned for the PPR podcast number 68 tomorrow, featuring former Helix Highlander, former Arizona Wildcat, and West Virginia Mountaineer, Scotty Young Jr. He'll join Paul and Bert on that podcast. But until then, we'll see you guys next week.